So, the fourth generation of Pokemon. So, yeah, I've done this video about 3 times already. So, obviously, for those who don't know, I'm going to be going through my favorite and least favorite things added in the fourth generation of Pokemon, which is basically Pokemon Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, Heart Gold, and Soul Silver. So, anything added with Ruby or Sapphire, or something that got added in Black and White, or so on, or any spin-offs, I will not be covering. So let's get into the video with the great things that Gen 4 added. So starting off, we of course have the physical special split. So for the first 3 generations, moves were of course divided on whether or not they were a certain type. So all dark type moves were special, while all ghost type moves were physical. This change made it so Shadow Ball was naturally pretty useful, and that certain Pokemon like Gengar got much better. Overall, it was a much needed change, and I'm glad that it happened sooner rather than later. Obviously, next up, we obviously have the new Sinnoh Pokemon. Sinnoh was a pretty fun region, and it had some really fun Pokemon. I've already gone through all my favorites, but a few standouts were of course Garchomp, Lucario, and Magnemortar. The region itself and the OST are also pretty good, and are pretty memorable in my opinion. There's also some challenging gyms, and Elite Four themselves are also pretty challenging too. Ruby and Sapphire, as much as I liked them, Watson and Norman really only challenging gym leaders that I had trouble with. A few of the Elite Four members, yeah, they were definitely tricky too, but I feel like Sinnoh definitely improved on that a lot. Obviously, we also have an improved Battle Frontier and some new moves. I'm not the biggest fan of Battle Frontier, but it's definitely nice that we did see a return in Sinnoh and did see a new Battle Frontier with Platinum. Obviously, next up, we also have the new evolution methods, and of course, new Pokeballs. As kind of something I forgot to mention in the Gen 3 video, but Gen 3 and Gen 4 introduced quite a few new evolution methods, and some really interesting Pokeballs that make our adventures more fulfilling, and definitely made catching some Pokemon a lot easier. Next up, we also have the fact that these were the first games on DS and how good they looked at the time. Yeah, by today's standards, these games aren't anything special, but at the time, these games definitely was impressive on the DS, and we would later go on to see how more impressive, how better some games could be. Next up, we obviously have Platinum and its additions. So this is like the new forms for Giratina and Shaman, the added Pokedex, added Pokemon, making the Platinum Pokedex come out to 210 Pokemon, which definitely made Platinum a lot better. Fixed movesets, and obviously just kind of some quality of life features and just some changes here and there. Too much to cover, but overall, it's a great game. First, now we're on the Heart Gold and Soul Silver parts, and obviously as of course Heart Gold and Soul Silver being remade, these games are fantastic, and they had some really great additions come with them. Obviously, next up, we have, Lyra being a character. I like Lyra a lot more than Chris. Lyra seems a lot more interesting, and in this one she had more to do compared to Chris. And obviously we have some new Pokemon in the Pokedex, like Mamoswine and Ambipom, so if they got like a new evolution in Gen 4, then they were added in the Pokedex, which is pretty cool. The legendaries in this game are also pretty nice. They add quite a bit to the post game in this generation. Heart Gold and Soul Silver specifically, there was quite a lot of fun legendaries to encounter in this one. and we also have the ability to transfer Pokemon. This was pretty cool. In Diamond and Pearl, it's a little mixed because you have to wait about 24 hours. But in Platinum, I think they changed that, which definitely made it a lot better. Unfortunately, there are some downsides for this. So, of course, obviously, we have the Great Marsh just being boring. We have the underground being uninteresting and only really being used for fossils. Spiritomb was a massive pain to catch. Using Gen 3 games to spawn Pokemon in the Gen 4 games was kind of useless. So, for those who don't know, if you had, like, let's say, Pokemon Ruby inserted in your DS and were playing Platinum, you could spawn Solrock, or I think Mawile in some areas of the game. This is kind of a useless feature because, well, how do you think you transfer Pokemon to the Gen 4 games? Yeah. Next up, we obviously have too many HMs and way too many legendaries in the Sinnoh region. If I recall correctly, I think Sinnoh actually has the most, or had the most at one time, and frankly, honestly, it did not need too many legendaries. It kind of made catching them all a little too boring. Obviously, next up, we obviously have, Diamond Pearl Silver is kind of until Platinum. While Console Silver still have the sharp level curve. Well, the Lucky Egg does fix it because you can get a lot easier in the Gen 4 games. It is definitely something that should have still been improved on. Obviously, we have 150 Pokemon in the Diamond Pearl decks, and of course, too many Gen 4 Pokemon are post-game only, and Diamond Pearl being so slow. The Hot Console Soul Service Fire Zone is honestly just too much of a giant pain, and it's too confusing, and it's stuff like this that makes me hate Solrock. And last but not least is, of course, the return of Feebas. But overall, Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver, and of course, Pokemon Diamond Pearl and Platinum are all fun games, and I recommend playing them if you haven't already. I'm looking forward to covering the Gen 5 games next. I don't know when I'll be, but Gen 5 had a lot of good qualities, and I'm hoping to get to take a look at that sometime in the future. So until then, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.